The world knows Hitler as the infamous dictator of Germany who was responsible for the death of millions, but what everyone doesn't know is the struggle he had to face during his younger years. This is Hitler's journey to his rise to power. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889, in the small Austrian town of Braunau and was the fourth of six children. His father was a German customs clerk, Alois Hitler, and his mother was an Austrian peasant woman, Clara Plock. Hitler's father was born to Maria Anna Schicklgruber and was an illegitimate child. Some speculate that Alois' father was the Frankenberger's 19-year-old son. If that is true, then that would in fact make Hitler one-quarter Jewish. Alois' mother Maria married a mill worker named Johann Georg Heidler, but she died soon after. Alois was left in the care of his stepfather's brother at the young age of 13 when he moved to his farm in Vienna, Austria. Despite his modest means and a limited education, he achieved prominence as a customs official in the Austrian government. Alois' uncle convinced him to change his last name to Heidler. However, when the name was registered, it was misspelled and recorded as Hitler. Alois had been married twice before he met Clara, but he married her when he was 48. The couple settled in the small Austrian village of Braunau am Inn. Clara had 2 miscarriages in 3 years before she gave birth to her son, Adolf Hitler. Clara was overly protective of Adolf and showered him with affection and attention, while Adolf developed a devoted attachment to his mother. On the other hand, Alois was a strict disciplinarian who ran his household in the same manner as he did his civil service job. When Adolf Hitler was 5 years old, the Hitler family moved to Leonding, a small town along the Danube River. Although education was very important to Alois, Adolf did not care much for schooling. Hitler was captivated by glorious tales of war, and he constantly read books on famous battles. He became obsessed with German nationalism from a very young age. As Hitler approached the 9th grade, he became a sullen and spoiled child whose only academic interest was in the arts. His father would not allow him to study fine arts, however, and spent much of his class time doodling and sketching. He received poor grades in school. Adolf Hitler's struggle with his father ended when he was 14, when his father died in 1903. He continued failing in high school and dropped out at the age of 16. Once out of high school, Hitler devoted most of his time to sketching and watercolor painting, such as the one seen here. Since he wasn't very outgoing, he became much of a recluse. Adolf Hitler did have one friend, however, named Gustl Kwiesak, also a high school dropout. With Kwiesak, Hitler began to develop public speaking skills. He delivered personal speeches on a number of topics, such as his passion for art, while Kwiesak served as his eager audience. When Hitler turned 18 in 1907, he received his share of the inheritance left by his father. The sum was substantial enough to support him comfortably for some time. Hitler had become bored with small-town life, and even though his mother had developed cancer, he was determined to leave Leonding. He set his sights on Vienna, Austria's capital, a sophisticated city teeming with art, music, and literature, and filled with a mix of people from many classes and backgrounds. It was just the place Hitler needed to escape to. Hitler applied for admittance to Vienna's renowned Academy of Fine Arts. He never considered the possibility that he would be rejected, and once he did, he saw life in Vienna as bleak. Shortly after this, he returned home around the time that his mother lost her battle with cancer. After settling his mother's affairs, Hitler returned to Vienna and reapplied to the Academy of Fine Arts, only to be rejected once again because his work showed little artistic promise. The rejection to art school and death of his mother forced Hitler into a depression. During this depressing time, Hitler found comfort at the opera. He always made sure he had enough money to purchase a ticket to the newest performances. In the dark theater, he forgot his troubles and felt swept away by the theatrics and music. In 1910, he moved into a boarding house for indigent men. He developed a passion for reading and borrowed books on German history and mythology from the local library. It is believed that Hitler's first introduction to anti-Semitism came from the writings of the German historian Heinrich von Treitschke, a fanatic nationalist and virulent anti-Semite. This famous historian was greatly influenced by Darwin's theory of evolution and based his own views on Darwinism. He said, "Nations can only evolve through a fierce struggle similar to Darwin's struggle for existence." Another major influence on Hitler's political views was Karl Lueger, an avowed anti-Semite who was mayor of Vienna during the years Hitler lived there. Lueger happily blamed Jews for the chaos, corruption, and despair that pervaded life in turn-of-the-century Europe. He thought it was the Jews who used political and economic manipulation to undermine the once great German nation and who threatened the very existence of its racial purity. Hitler gradually developed a contempt for Jews, socialists, capitalists, liberals, and other groups that people like Lueger claimed were undermining German supremacy. In 1913, Hitler left Vienna and moved to Munich, Germany, primarily to avoid being drafted into the Austrian military. Soon after, in 1913, World War I began. How did you feel about the start of World War I?
I was overcome with rapturous enthusiasm. I fell on my knees and thanked heaven from an overflowing heart for granting me the good fortune of being allowed to live at this time.
Why did you have such a joyous reaction to the war?
I have been living in poverty without a home, a family, career, or goal. The war gave me a sense of purpose, a feeling that I belonged to some larger cause, so I volunteered for a military service.
Hitler became a private with the 16th Bavarian Reserve Infantry Regiment. He served as a dispatch runner, carrying messages from military command to officers on the front lines. The conflict of unprecedented misery, suffering, destruction, and death did not affect Hitler at all as they did other soldiers. Hitler was twice awarded the Iron Cross for bravery and dedication to service. The war, Hitler believed, was also a struggle to free Germany from the racially impure influences that had infested his adopted country. By 1918, after 4 years of fighting, the war began to go badly for Hitler's beloved country. Defeat for Germany became inevitable, and Hitler was unwilling to accept that Germany was being beaten on the battlefield. Hitler began blaming the subversive tactics of Jews and communists on the home front. In October 1918, a British gas shell exploded near Hitler, temporarily blinding him. As he lay in his hospital bed, his mind reeled with a terrible vision of defeat and surrender. His nightmare came true. Word filtered through that Kaiser Wilhelm, Germany's emperor, had abdicated his throne and fled the country. On November 11th, Germany signed a truce with the Allies, ending the fighting. The Treaty of Versailles, the peace treaty that officially ended World War I, imposed harsh terms on the defeated Germans. Not only did Germany have to accept blame for the starting war, but it also had to relinquish territory to France and Poland and pay reparations to the victorious Allies. In addition, all of Germany's colonies were placed under the protection of a new international peacekeeping organization called the League of Nations. Germany went into a severe depression shortly after. Like many other Germans, Adolf Hitler was enraged by the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. He vowed that the shameful punishment imposed on Germany would one day be avenged. He was determined to play a part in restoring Germany to its former glory, and he set his sights on establishing a German empire greater and stronger than any the world had ever seen. The Beer Hall Putsch of November 1923, or the Munich Putsch, was Hitler's attempt to overthrow the Weimar government of Ebert and establish a right-wing nationalistic one in its place. He was unsuccessful and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he only spent 9 months there. While in prison, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle. Hitler suggested that there were easy solutions to the complex problems the German people faced in the 1920s. Hitler blamed Germany's depression on its weak government. He also derived inspiration from Darwin's struggle for existence like Henrik von Treich and implemented them into his book. The poor conditions in Germany provided the chance for the rise of a new leader, Adolf Hitler, and his party, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi for short. Hitler was a powerful and spellbinding speaker who attracted a wide following of Germans desperate for change. He promised the disenchanted a better life and a new glorious Germany. The Nazis appealed especially to the unemployed, young people, and members of the lower middle class, such as small store owners, office employees, craftsmen, and farmers. The party's rise to power was rapid. Before the economic depression struck, the Nazis were rapidly unknown, winning only 3% of the vote to the Reichstag, German parliament, in elections in 1924. In the 1932 elections, the Nazis won 33% of the votes, more than any other party. In January 1933, Hitler was appointed chancellor, the head of the German government, and many Germans believed that they had found a savior for their nation. With the end of World War II imminent and the Russians nearing his underground bunker under the Chancellery building in Berlin, Germany, Hitler shot himself in the head with his pistol, likely after swallowing cyanide, ending his own life on April 30th, 1945. In the same room with Hitler was his new wife, Eva Braun, who ended her life by swallowing a cyanide capsule. After their deaths, SS men carried their bodies up to the Chancellery's courtyard, covered them with gasoline, and lit them on fire.